This is True Crime and Scene. Today, we unfold a harrowing tale from California that shook the nation to its core. A seemingly ordinary family harbored dark secrets, becoming a nightmarish reality for 13 siblings. The Turpin family, led by David and Louise Turpin, kept their children captive in a world of unimaginable abuse. But there's a chilling twist despite the severity of their situation. There was no physical evidence, no witnesses, and the captives were voiceless in a nightmare no one saw coming. For years, the Turpin children endured ghastly conditions inside their home, which they dubbed their House of Horrors. They lived in a seemingly normal suburban neighborhood, yet behind those closed doors lay the brutal chaos of psychological and physical torment. The siblings were starved, chained, and emotionally abused by their parents, who, by all appearances, seemed like any other family but concealed an insidious reality. It all began innocently enough. The Turpins were seen at local events, their children well dressed with an odd spark of cheerfulness, deceiving neighbors and friends. No one suspected that the children were living a harrowing existence masked by an eerie normality. But why did no one notice? As days stretched into years, the truth of their captivity remained concealed. As time passed, the Turpin children grew up in isolation. Their parents controlled every aspect of their lives: sleep, food, and education. They lived in squalor, bathed infrequently, and were often deprived of basic hygiene. The outside world was a distant memory, and their reality became a twisted echo of the life they should have led, filled with safety, love, and freedom. Then came a turning point. In January 2018, one of the Turpin siblings, a brave 17-year-old girl, managed to escape her confines. She climbed through a window in the dead of night, fueled by a fierce determination to break free. But her journey wasn't over. With trembling hands, she called 911, pleading for help. "My siblings are still inside," she declared, her voice filled with desperation. Little did she know, this call would ignite a firestorm of revelations that would rock the nation. When police arrived at the Turpin residence, they were shocked by the scene before them. The truth behind closed doors was far beyond what they had imagined. Officers found the emaciated children, some chained to beds and others situated in filthy rooms. The sheer horror of their prevalence was staggering. They were victims of a long, tortuous existence. As word spread of the Turpin siblings' plight, a wave of disbelief swept through the community. How could this happen? How could no one notice the signs? Investigators began to dig into the disturbing history of the Turpin family. As they uncovered layers of deceit, inconsistencies began to blur the line between normalcy and horror. What had led David and Louise to become monstrous figures in their children's eyes? Some speculated that their religious beliefs had fueled their descent into darkness, convinced that they were carrying out a divine mission. What twisted reality could prompt such behavior? Questions hung in the air like a storm cloud, yet no one had answers. As the siblings began to recount their experiences to investigators, their stories revealed jaw-dropping truth. They had been denied food as punishment, forced to do physically demanding tasks, and subjected to psychological torment. The horrifying tales revealed layers of manipulation that ran deep, twisting the innocence of their childhood into haunting survival stories. The children were adamant about their commitment to each other. They had survived together despite the cruelty. But how could their parents still appear stable to the outside world, all while orchestrating such horror within? It seemed unreal that a nightmare of this magnitude could flourish without detection. As investigators worked tirelessly on the case, troubling inconsistencies surfaced, from family appearances at public gatherings to disturbing details of Louise's behavior. How did she manage to maintain a facade of normality while crafting a world of chaos? The discrepancies sent detectives on a wild goose chase, while the media turned their spotlight onto the case with fervor. In a dramatic twist, It was revealed that both David and Louise had long histories of dysfunctional behavior, each bearing scars of their past. Their upbringing and early experiences painted a picture of abuse that perhaps set the stage for the cycle to repeat itself. The more investigators uncovered, the more escape routes led to dark family legacies etched deep with trauma. As the Turpins faced mounting pressure, chilling footage emerged. Home videos displaying birthday parties and elaborate family outings began to surface, showcasing the bizarre contrast within the family dynamic. Were they genuinely happy, or was it merely a mask concealing their torment? The manipulation of reality deepened as the siblings demanded the truth behind the scenes of their lives, a desperate call for recognition. As the trial date approached, the world watched intently. Would justice be served? Would society finally hold David and Louise accountable for their unspeakable actions? The siblings found their voices, bravely confronting the horror they had endured. They became advocates for one another, united in their fight for freedom and the call for change. But just as the truth began to take shape, a new layer of complexity emerged, a shocking twist. David Turpin, facing life in prison, attempted to manipulate the legal system. He claimed that he was a victim of circumstance, asserting that he had no knowledge of the suffering his children had endured. How could someone shift blame while trying to play the victim? With tension reaching a boiling point, public outrage surged. Souls cried for justice while the siblings fought for their new lives. The bittersweet taste of freedom lingered as they navigated the complexities of a world they had never known. But uncertainty clouded their future. What would become of them? Would they ever fully escape the shadows cast by their parents? A decision lingered in the air as hope fought to break free from the grip of despair. How could a family once lost reclaim their love and connection? Troubling questions haunted the siblings, leaving them grappling with the trauma of their past while they sought a path to healing. As the nation continued to process the chilling story of the Turpin family, the aftermath of their nightmarish captivity unfolded like a gripping novel. The escape of the brave 17-year-old daughter was just the beginning. The world held its collective breath as the trial of David and Louise Turpin approached. Who would emerge victorious in this bitter confrontation between abuser and victim? The courtroom buzzed with tension as David and Louise Turpin faced their fate. The siblings, once trapped in a harrowing existence, were now empowered to confront the very parents who had caused them so much pain. As they took the stand, their testimonies revealed a profound strength that resonated with observers. Each of the siblings shared harrowing accounts of their lives behind closed doors, detailing the torture they endured. With tears streaming down their faces, they recounted horrific moments of deprivation, fear, and confusion. "We were treated like animals," one sibling declared, while another spoke of witnessing punishments and erratic behavior from their parents that plunged them into a cycle of despair. Their words echoed through the court, a haunting reminder of the hell they had survived. As the siblings bravely laid their truths bare, the courtroom atmosphere turned electric. The world watched intently as layers of their story unraveled, exposing the insidious nature of their captivity. Each testimony resonated with a powerful message of resilience, evidence that they had found the strength to break free from the chains that had bound them for so long. But even as the walls closed in, the Turpins attempted to manipulate the narrative. David Turpin defended himself by pleading ignorance, claiming he had no idea the extent of the abuse taking place in his own home. He painted a picture of parental love, attempting to draw sympathy from the jury. But it was too late. The siblings had shattered that illusion. A major twist emerged as Louise Turpin denied any wrongdoing. In a startling accusation, she claimed that her children had been difficult and defiant, suggesting that their rebellious behavior justified the strict rules they imposed. How could she deflect responsibility for the terror they had ignited in their own children? The audacity of her claims left many incredulous. As the trial progressed, the prosecution pressed forward, They produced evidence that showcased the darkness lurking within the Turpin household, including horrifying photographs and accounts of prolonged isolation. These revelations painted a bleak image of the reality the siblings endured for so many years, a stark contrast to the glossy facade that had once masked their suffering. Both parents faced serious charges before long. The jury rendered its decision. David Turpin was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison, while Louise received a similar sentence. As the verdict was read, a wave of relief surged through the courtroom. Finally, justice had been served. The siblings could breathe a sigh of relief, knowing their parents would no longer wield power over their lives. But even as they celebrated this victory, another layer of complexity emerged. Where would the siblings go from here? What awaited them after years of captivity? The road ahead was uncharted. Could they rebuild their lives outside the confines of their past? Separated from each other for many years, the siblings were soon reunited in a safe environment. Therapy sessions began. They faced the daunting task of unpacking the trauma they had endured. One sibling recounted, "It was overwhelming at first. We didn't know how to navigate the world." But as time passed, hope began to blossom within them. They emerged not only as survivors but as advocates for abuse victims everywhere, sharing their story to empower others who had faced similar challenges. Their resilience ignited a fire, a determination to raise awareness about the dangers of isolation and abuse, shining a light on the inconceivable horrors that so many endure in silence. Yet even as they found their footing, the haunting memories of their past lingered. Could they ever escape the shadows cast by their parents' actions? Would forgiveness be part of their healing journey? The siblings shared their experiences with the media, inviting the world to witness both their suffering and their triumph. In a poignant moment that captured hearts across the globe, they banded together to break the taboo surrounding their horrific story. They called for legislative changes to protect children from emotional and physical abuse while pushing for greater awareness of domestic violence. With every step they took, the siblings transformed their pain into power, igniting conversations that needed to happen. As public support grew, so did the siblings' sense of purpose. They appeared on talk shows, sharing snippets of their journey and advocating for other abuse victims. It was a powerful moment. The strength they radiated, the impact they made became a guiding light for many. But their newfound platform had its challenges. Media scrutiny intensified as they navigated their complex emotions. Discussions about their past stirred conflicting feelings, and moments of vulnerability rose to the surface. How could they reconcile the horror of their upbringing with the beauty of finding freedom? The battle for healing was as encompassing as their past, a testament to their resilience. Through triumphs and tribulations, the siblings forged deeper connections with one another. They leaned on each other for support, bonding over shared experiences that had once held them captive. Laughter and joy began to fill the gaps once carved by pain. Yet the shadows of their childhood still felt pervasive. As they sought to build new lives, they were confronted with the task of overcoming fears that had been ingrained for so long, a daunting journey of self-discovery and reclamation. With every brave step into the world outside, they chose to rewrite their narrative. The house of horrors that once loomed over the Turpin siblings transformed into a powerful symbol of resilience and hope. Together, they emerged as advocates for those silenced by abuse, standing proud against the darkness that once engulfed their lives. Their story reminds us all of the importance of awareness, healing, and the power of the human spirit. What comes next for the siblings? Join us as we remember that their journey has just begun.